Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to my 50th Are You In? Thank you so much to everyone who has watched all of them or have been at least around since the beginning of these. It means a lot to know that I have some fans who are interested in what I'm saying about albums, and hopefully I have got you onto some good or albums or, kept you away from some bad ones. And today is going to be one of those latter ones. I had a particular one in mind that I wanted to do for my 50th, one from 2018, which I will review probably next week. But with this weekend being a little bit long and tiring due to some unforeseen sunburns that I got on Thursday and just keeping me up with the lack of sleep, when I was at work on Saturday, it made me think of a certain album that I haven't thought about in a while that was on repeatedly while I was at work that day. And I wanted to talk about this album, but chose not to from 2017. But the time has come. I think I can put it off no longer. And I think it is time to give this album what it deserves. So, my friends, get ready because this is going to be a doozy. Today I am talking about Maroon 5's latest album from 2017 entitled Red Pill Blues. This is going to hurt. But for those of you who don't know who Maroon 5 is, they are a pop rock band from Los Angeles, California. Members include Adam Levine on lead vocals, rhythm, and lead guitar, Jesse Carmichael on piano, keyboards, rhythm guitar, and backing vocals, Mickey Madden on bass guitar, James Valentine on lead guitar and backing vocals, Matt Flynn on drums and percussion. No, not the Oakland Raiders and Green Bay Packers quarterback. No, just Matt Flynn. He's a musician on drums and percussion. PJ Morton on piano, keyboards, and backing vocals, and Sam Farrar on keyboards, synthesizers, MPC, guitar, bass guitar, percussions, and backing vocals. I honestly did not know that this band had as many members as it did. Had no clue. So interesting to find that one out at least. Their previous albums include Songs About Jane in 2002, It Won't Be Soon Before Long in 2007, Hands All Over in 2010, Overexposed in 2012, and 5, as a V, in 2014. Now, I really like Maroon 5. Call it a guilty pleasure if you will, but my first memory of them was watching MTV and watching their music video for Harder to Breathe. And I also remember seeing This Love as well as She Will Be Loved on repeat on MTV when I watched it when I was homesick. And I loved the sound. Songs About Jane was one of my first albums I had as a kid, and I really, really like it. It's amazing to me that it's over 15 years old. Makes me feel old. But I really liked the rock and pop infused sound that they had. There wasn't many people like that at that time that had that sound. So, made me very happy to listen to it, and I think it still holds up to this day. There's a lot of really good songs on there, even the ones that aren't the most popular ones. Sunday Morning, of course, Not Coming Home. All the songs, honestly, are really good. Must Get Out. I really like a lot of the stuff on there. And then from there, haven't listened to a lot of their full albums, but I do know most of their singles, and like most of them, they over the years they kind of range from good to mediocre to awful. Moves Like Jagger, Misery, One More Night. A lot of really good singles and a lot of catchy singles that have made them relevant and kept them relevant over the years, as well as given Adam Levine a spot in the limelight, especially with the voice as well as this band. Though I have listened to a couple other albums, particularly their previous two, and was not too happy with the more pop-infused sound that they had garnered over the years. Gone was more the rock idea for more simplistic songs. Take Me All the Way, for example, is a song that has only two real chords in its progression, and it's kind of lacking in terms of creativity. I also feel like over the years they have gone with this pop sound. They kind of lost track of who they were. Though there are some good songs on Five that I really like. Maps. And Sugar, I really like those singles, and I think it's a little bit better than Overexposed. So I wasn't really looking forward to this particular album. I didn't have any, no qualms, if you will. Just like I wasn't really interested in this particular album, but I checked it out anyways, and I really, really wish I didn't. And of course, I really didn't wish I'd listened to it a second time. But, you gotta do it sometimes. I'm doing it for all of you. So, my biggest takeaway from this is, honestly, gone are all the rock-infused ideas in this particular album. There is one song that is mainly rock, and we'll talk about it later. But for the most part, it's more of a popish, a little bit more of an EDM kind of sound, more electrical bass, if you will. And from there, it kind of is lackluster, to say at best. You have 10 songs on the original one, and then 5 more as bonus tracks on the deluxe version. And you bet you I will listen to the deluxe version, because I go the extra mile for you guys. The biggest thing for me is that because of this electric sound, a lot of these songs don't bridge from each other. There isn't anything that stands out particularly. There's a couple of good songs, if you will, but none that are great. The highlights, if you will, for me, I would say, are Lips on You, which is a more slowed down version. I think they worked with Charlie Puth on this particular song, and it has this feel of Chris Isaak's Wicked Game, definitely in chord progression as well as the actual feel of it. And I think it builds very well. I think there's some interesting parts on there, and I think it gives an open feel that I really like, this minimal sense. And that's where some of the songs shine, is this minimalistic idea. Songs like Whiskey, where it's more of a little bit of electronics with a little bit piano chords, talking about a past love, and I like this minimalist idea, even if it doesn't really go anywhere. Girls Like You also has this minimalist sound as well, and it actually has an interesting guitar part, which feels nice to actually hear on a Maroon 5 album. Shocking, that they had a rock past. You wouldn't even recognize it on this particular album. And there are some songs that do well with the electronic sound. Best for You does good enough. It doesn't bombard you with it. Help Me Out has an interesting work with more space and a little bit more silence, even in this electronic feel, and it gives Levine and Julia Michaels a chance to have their rhythmic ideas come out. The only thing is that the music kind of matches the lyrics themselves, because Help Me Out is more about looking for someone to actually help you out of a situation, but the song itself is a little bit more happy, a little more optimistic. And that's a qualm that I have with pop music in general, not being able to convey the message through the music. That's just something in general, but it's not a bad song. And like things like Whiskey and Girls Like You, it gives Levine time to work his message, even if the messages aren't amazing. And even on back to Help Me Out for 1 second, it shows off Levine's falsetto in a very nice way. Those are some of the main ones that stand out in terms of on the original CD. But those are honestly the biggest pluses I can give to this album. Everything else is kind of meh altogether, or just horrible. You know, the problem with most of these songs is with the electronics, it gets catchy in a bad way. A lot of these songs, a lot of these singles to begin with, What Lovers Do, catchy in a horrible way. The verse is lackluster. It's basically not there. The chorus is very annoying. Wait is a little bit better in terms of the verse, but again, the actual chorus is a little bit annoying. Though I do appreciate the vocal runs that they do on here. Bet My Heart sounds like a bad Drake song. Who I Am, very forgettable. Yeah, like on the original album, a lot of these songs tend to be very meh to very annoying to very forgettable. And the frustrating thing to me that happens here is that there are 5 bonus songs, like I said, and honestly, 2 of them, the last 2 songs on the bonus songs are, to me, the best 2 songs. Now, they were also singles, so maybe they're just more fresh in my head, but I think Cold is the best song in terms of the minimalist idea, in terms of the chorus. I love the descending line in the chorus in terms of the melody. I think it's very interesting, and it grips me in a way that a lot of these songs don't. Future's part is not horrible, but and because of that, it doesn't drag this song down, making it one of the better songs. Same thing with Don't Want to Know. I like the rhythmic ideas. I like the marimba parts. I don't mind Kendrick Lamar's part on this. Though again, Kendrick Lamar you can't really go wrong with him. Though Kendrick Lamar definitely went wrong with working on this particular album. It's another one that I really like the harmonies on there. I like the motion of the melody. But again, why is this on a bonus song? Like, why not put that in and Cold into the actual album, and take out some of these other horrible songs? And honestly, the other 3, throw them out. Plastic Rose, very forgettable. Visions, I like the reggae feel, but it's kind of a gimmick, though I do like Levine's use of his low register in here. But again, you shouldn't have a gimmick to sell this album, And then Denim Jacket, second to worst song on the album by far. Sounds like a very lackluster boy band song in the chorus, and it's a stupid premise. And they've done better versions of these songs, but the biggest sin, and the one that I have not talked about yet on this album, that was on the actual album, is the closing song entitled Closure. So, it's an 11-minute song. You think, okay, that's different from things that they've done before. Why is it an 11-minute song? And then the riff comes in, and it's so groovy. It's awesome. It's the best sounding song on the album by far. Finally, they have drums. Finally, they have piano. They have an awesome guitar line. I love the chords and everything, and it should be perfect. And even the melody is good. And then you get 3 minutes in, and the melody's over, and then you start getting into this little jam section. That's the same type of chords. No worries there. Cool, at least you're setting up for potentially a solo. And then you're 4 minutes in, and then you're 5 minutes in, and then you're 6 minutes in, and 7 minutes. And you get these little interludes from each particular instrument that makes it sound like maybe one of them is going to start a solo. And then it just backs off. And then you keep going. And you wait until about 8.5 minutes, and you get a saxophone solo. But such a lackluster one, especially for a 5-minute build of nothing. And it's like, why is this here? Why is this so long of a song? And then it's gone after a minute. And then nothing really else. And then at like the 10.5 minute mark, they come to an end. And just to show their triumphance and just how great they are as musicians, they start like noodling a little bit out of time, as if you would at an end of a jazz song. But those ones, they did something in their song, and it shows that they get to do that. There's no reason that should be the way it is. There's no way that song should close the way it does. They didn't do anything for 8 minutes. And it's frustrating because the music is so interesting. It makes me want to hear more songs like that. They have the prowess of being able to do this. They've been around for long enough. They've done a lot of rock stuff. Why not do more funky and more jazzy songs? I would love to see that. I think Adam Levine would be able to pull that off. And to have such an FU, it's like, oh, we're finally doing a song that's more rockish. This is what you wanted, right? And to have it for 11 minutes of absolutely nothing is a slap in the face as a closing song. And I'm glad that I at least listened to 5 more mediocre songs afterwards. But if I had just listened to that as a closing song, I would have, if I bought the CD, I would have broken it in half right then and there. Because that is such a slap in the face after such a mediocre album with such horrible lyrics, with such mediocre music, that you finally have the one song that's interesting and grasps you, and then to pull that is so annoying. And that's another big thing on this album, is the lack of interesting lyrics. Now, when you have music that's not great or is very repetitive, you need to have interesting lyrics to keep you engaged. And I've never really thought of Maroon 5 as a band that does well with lyrics, and this is case in point. This is the only album where I have to think about, hey, are the lyrics good enough? And they're not. So when you have bad lyrics, when you have bad music, when you have repetitive sounds, that when you have all 15 songs together is an hour long, you have one of the worst, if not the worst albums of last year. And I didn't want to do this review. I actually wanted to do it with a friend who recommended it to me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I wanted to have him defend his part, if you will, because I want to see the good in this album. And there are some all-right songs if you were to do it in spurts. But you don't listen to the album. Don't buy the album. Don't maybe listen to a song, if that. And the only reason why I brought this up again was because I heard it at work. And I hear it at work almost every weekend. And it's one of the featured track lists that we listen to. And I don't understand who's listening to this. And if you are and you like this, I'm sorry, but I can't like it. It is quintessential pop trash, and it deserves to be the worst album from last year. So that is my time. Thank you so much. I really hope you enjoyed this. Here's the 50, and here's the 50 more at that. I'm not stopping anytime soon. If you like this, of course, like the video, comment on if you like this album, and if you do, why, or what you thought the worst album from 2017 was last year. And share this with your friends. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because that would be awesome, especially if you watch all 50 of these. And just keep watching my videos. I'll put a playlist of all 50 so far, and then on Wednesday I'll be back with part 5 of the Digging Through Discographies with Linkin Park and their album Living Things. Until then, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.